Hi.
Hey,
How are you?
good. How are you?
I'm good. You know, this is like my second time, maybe third time on live in my life.
Really?
Hold on, I'm turning it up.
What did you do for the first?
I did there's a DJ from Toronto named Dem Dog, and
Uh-huh.
I was having a party and he was one of my DJs, and we did a live, um, like mixing session, if you want to call it that. That was, actually, that might be the only time I've been on live before.
Oh,
So,
well, welcome back.
hi, how are you?
So yeah, I wanted to start the conversation just by telling you when I remember seeing you walk around A3C and you just seemed like you were on a mission and we would always end up at the same panels and you were always asking questions and I was like, this girl knows how to network. And
No,
then
it's so funny. Sorry to interrupt you. It's so funny because last year I went to A3C and in one of the I wasn't supposed to be there, first of all. I stole my brother's wristband and
uh-huh.
he went to sleep and I came to the conference and I raised my hand and asked a question randomly. And since then, that's what made me go back to A3C and I was DJing at A3C this year. And
Mm-hmm.
since that moment, I realized no matter what conference I go to, no matter where I go, like this is for anybody, always ask questions because then you're gonna stand out. And even if you don't stand out to the people on the panel, then people in the room will know who you are, and then you build your network like that. So that's why I asked.
Exactly.
But yeah, sorry.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's how we met too. Because I think I remember I asked some kind of question and I introduced myself and I was like, "Oh, I do events or a festival,
Yeah.
whatever." And then you came up to me afterwards and you're like, "Oh, I heard you do events. I do events too."
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you're right. That's a great way to meet other people too, is by asking questions.
Exactly. There you go.
And when I met you too, I got to meet your mom.
Yes.
And I remember thinking oh, it's so cool that your mom supports you. And I think you mentioned she was also involved in music.
Yeah.
So could you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got introduced to music?
Mm-hmm. So my dad, um, he was hey,
What's up, everyone? Thanks for
I,
logging in.
I P grams. um, so my dad actually is from Jamaica, and since I think he was like 7 or 8, he's been DJing. Like they call it DJing in Jamaica, but like rapping, singing, whatever, like dancehall and reggae music. Uh,
Uh-huh.
so my dad's been in the music scene for like a really, really, really long time. And my brother, whose name is Chilla, search up Chilla, guys. He is a producer, engineer, recording artist. He's produced for Nav, Ram Riddles, all types of different people. And
Uh-huh.
my mom actually built a recording studio in our basement. I should have actually done the live downstairs. I don't feel like moving now. But we literally have a recording studio like built in our basement because my dad was recording and my brother was recording and like doing all the mixing and mastering and everything like that. So
Uh-huh.
my whole entire life I've been surrounded by music.
By music.
Selena, shut up.
Yeah.
I've been surrounded by music my entire life. So I was actually in school to be a French immersion teacher. And
Hmm.
when I started DJing, I started becoming a lot less interested in school in general.
Yeah.
So last December, I was like, I'm not going back. And since then, I've just been DJing. I haven't gone back to school and I've been just doing my thing, moving around.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
seems like by last December, do you mean this past one or the one before?
No, December 2017. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How has it been for you since you've been able to focus 100% in DJing? This past year, have you noticed a growth and more like opportunities coming up for you?
So I found like when I was in school, I found myself always focusing on DJing and music and sending out my resume and my press kit and doing all that stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
no matter what you do, if you have something else on the back burner that is distracting you, in my case it was school, I feel
Mm-hmm.
like you'll never get anywhere. So once I kind of eliminated that distraction, even though it's really bad to say that school was a distraction, uh,
Yeah.
I was able to focus. Since then, I've DJed the majority of the clubs in Toronto. I DJ'd at the A3C festival, on the same stage as Trina and Saweetie and all these really dope artists.
You
What
do
else?
South by,
I
right?
did South by last year. I'm doing South by again this year. I'm booked for 2 shows right now, but there's a couple more I think that I'm just waiting on. Um, but yeah, it's been really good since I dropped out of school.
Do you have a manager? Do you like do everything yourself? Or you have like your family help you?
Yeah, so my mom is my manager.
Okay. I think I remember you saying that
Yeah,
actually.
but well, to be honest, like I say that she's my manager, really just helps me with anything that I don't really want to handle myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
She obviously, like, my dad and her have been together since they were like 16. Well, since my mom was 16. So while he was doing his whole music career, she was right there seeing the ins and outs of it. So a lot of the things that I don't really know about or questions I have, she's always there to help, including
Yeah.
like, honestly, both of them basically act as my manager. Like, they help me with everything.
Yeah. And it's always good, I feel, to have someone like represent you, like someone communicating for you. I feel like that's also more professional.
It is, because I've had a situation in the past where I had an altercation with somebody from a club because they were whatever. I'm not even gonna get into that, but
Yeah.
I was the one on the phone, like, basically saying, like, what the hell are you doing? Like, stop, blah blah blah. You can't be using my name, this and that, whatever. But from that situation, I'm like, I can't be the one having those discussions. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that should go for anybody. It's hard because you're trying to protect your brand and your reputation, but
Yeah.
by standing up for yourself and defending yourself, sometimes you can even tarnish your brand. So it's
Right.
better to have a second party. That way, everything that's happening, you can kind of leave it to them, and that way you don't look like the bad person.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
um so you're one thing that I really admire about you is the fact that you're in Toronto, but you do so much like over here too.
Yeah.
How has that experience and like process been for you? Has it been difficult, like travel wise and like going from over there to over here?
I wouldn't say difficult. The one thing, like, it all looks pretty and fancy, but every single thing I've done so far has come out of my own pocket. Like, every single thing. Even if I'm getting paid, it still goes back into, you know what I mean? Like,
For sure.
it's such an investment that you have to make, that I've made, that my family has made. So in that sense, it's hard. The other thing that's hard for me about traveling, I hate planes. Like, I am
Oh.
terrified of planes.
Uh-huh.
Like, I'm terrified of planes. So as much as I love traveling, I hate it at the same time because I don't like flying. But
Yeah.
if I didn't travel, I would not have met the people that I've met. I wouldn't have gotten the opportunities that I've gotten. So definitely traveling has been the most important factor so far in my career, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If I didn't travel, like, yeah, there's a lot of opportunity in Toronto, but there's only so much that you can do. And a lot of the traveling that I do is going to the States, seeing the type of things that I can bring to Toronto. So it's definitely helped my career a lot.
Yeah. Is it your goal to kind of reinvest your experience and provide resources to Toronto?
Yeah, so I've already started that. So I do an event called the Mixer. So all of the events are called Rosé. And for all of you who think it's Rose, it's not Rose, it's Rosé. It has the accent.
Yeah.
But I have an event called Rosé the Mixer. And it's an event where I just bring together all these creatives from Toronto that I know. Producers, artists, engineers, painters, like whatever the case is that you do, just bring them all together into one space and allow them to connect and meet each other and build relationships. So that's one way that I feel like I'm giving back to Toronto. And also, like I said, every single time I travel, I make sure that I come back with at least one different thing. Because
Right.
before I was DJing, I was a party goer. Before I was DJing, I was somebody in the community looking for something to do on a Friday night. So now that I'm a DJ and I have the ability to kind of change the atmosphere in Toronto and change the party scene and stuff like that, that's kind of what I've been really focusing on. So trying to make things different for people here.
Yeah. What's the community like over there? Is it very tight knit, or is there like a lot of competition?
It depends what industry you're in. It depends what community you live in. When it comes to the rappers and the artistic community, there are a lot of people supporting each other. But on the other side of the spectrum, there is a lot of beef going on, a lot of competition. But I feel like sooner than later, that's going to stop, to be honest. Because I think people are starting to realize that it's better to work together than to work against each other at this point.
For sure.
But yeah, that's how it is here so far.
Yeah. You were on tour recently, right?
Yes.
Was that your first?
It was my first.
How was that?
It was really, really, really eye-opening, first of all. It was such an amazing experience because I got to see a lot of the back end of stuff. I got to see, like, even though it's kind of unrelated to my DJing, I got to see the way how the lighting works and the stage setups and the props and this and that, all that stuff. So it was really eye-opening to be able to see how much work actually goes into being a personality. Because it's all fun and games and it all looks so fancy and pretty on the internet, but it's not always like that.
And work,
and I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about things that I want to change in my business, things that I want to add, and I met some amazing people. Shout out to Savannah Ray and Jessie Reyes.
How did, if you don't mind me asking, and if you don't mind sharing, how did you get that opportunity?
So when I went to South by Southwest in March of last year, I knew of somebody named Savannah Ray from Toronto. I've been hearing about her all the time. And when I went to South by Southwest, I had recently connected with an artist named Cuban Doll, who's from Dallas, but I think she lives in LA now. And I saw that she was going to be performing on this showcase. And on the showcase that she was performing on was also Savannah Ray from Toronto. And I was just, oh, okay, cool. Let me message Savannah, just like maybe we should meet up at South by. It's crazy how people from Toronto I've met in the States, like so many. So I messaged her, I DM'd her, I followed her, DM'd her, and I was like, hey, I'm Rose Gold. I'm going to be at South by. We should meet up. And then just so happened that her DJ ended up flopping on her and she had 4 shows. So she asked me, she's like, hey, are you available this day, this day, this day, and this day? And I was like, yeah, I am. And then she's like, okay, because my DJ flopped. Like, can you DJ for me? So she either had 3 shows or 4 shows, and I either had 3 shows or 4 shows. So in total, I had 7 shows at the end of the day. And somehow it ended up working out perfectly that I was able to DJ all of her shows for her. So
that was meant to be.
Right? So then I was contacted by her team at the end of August, I believe. And they said, oh, we might be going on tour with Jessie Reyes. Are you available to go on the road for 2 months? And I was like, yeah. So that's how that happened. So it started at South by Southwest, and that was just a coincidence.
Right.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's so awesome. You mentioned, like, after the tour, you realized a few things you wanted to change about your business. Could you share one thing that you realized you wanted to change?
Everybody gets a contract. That's so I was doing this, like, I'm very, very, very nice. Like, I'm one of the nicest people that you'll meet until something happens, which I'm sure for a lot of people. But I realized that I was being, not specifically like with the tour, I'm just talking about in general, I would be the type of person that if I know somebody, I'd be like, okay, yeah, no problem, I'll come DJ for you. And like, oh yeah, you can just pay me the day of, or you can just send me an e-transfer, like whenever you get the money, whatever the case is, because I knew them. Knowing somebody doesn't mean anything. Like I started realizing that you need to separate personal from business. Like there's people who I have great personal relationships, we're friends, but I can never be in business with them. So those are 2 things. So one thing, always know how to separate your business from your personal, and Second thing is everybody gets a contract.
Yes.
Everybody gets a lovely contract with my little flower on the top.
Yeah, that's something that I've realized too. And like as an event planner, a huge thing for me that's just as important as contracts are invoices.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Contracts and invoices, they go hand in hand.
How long have you been DJing?
So I bought my first DJ controller on January 7th of 2017. So it's been like just over 2 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. Have you noticed a change in like your energy on stage? Because I feel like DJs have to develop their own character and their own personality as well, even though you're like more, you know, behind the stage in certain instances. Have you kind of realized your personality change as you've done more shows and have experienced different platforms?
Yeah, so I would actually say that the tour is what really gave me the confidence to talk on the mic, to jump around, to kind of be a little bit more outgoing when I'm performing. Because Jessie's fans that were in the crowd were so accepting and so they're very non-judgmental. What kind of allowed me to be a little bit more outgoing and out there, because before I talk on the mic sometimes, but I would only say like, yeah, let's go, whatever.
Yeah.
But oh, sorry, my phone's dying. It came to a point where I was like, okay, I really need to like step out of the box. I need to not look shy. And as a DJ, I feel like you also need to be a performer to a certain extent. So to answer your question, I was not always confident, but now I'm a lot more comfortable doing what I do.
Right.
Yeah.
So what is a piece of advice that you would give to an aspiring DJ who's like just starting out, is a little bit shy, doesn't really have that much of a network yet?
First of all, I would say make sure that hi Lay. The first thing that I would say for an aspiring DJ is to practice your craft, because no matter how attractive you are, no matter how good your social media is, if you don't actually know how to DJ, or you don't actually know how to use your controller or the CDJs or whatever it is that you're using. Sorry, I told you I've never been on live before, so I don't know how to focus.
It's all good.
But yeah, make sure that you actually know how to DJ, because I feel like a lot of people, especially females, like I'm not talking about anybody specifically, but a lot of females think that, okay, because I'm cute, I have all these Instagram followers, I can just go step on these turntables and just play and just drop these songs in. That's only going to get you so far. That's really only going to get you so far. So that is my first and most important piece of advice. Make sure you actually practice. And I was lucky enough and blessed enough to be able to have people who physically helped me. I always talk about them, but Monogalis Sound, they're a DJ group from Toronto, or the Toronto area. Like, they actually gave me DJ lessons. I would go to their basement and literally practice DJing. So find somebody like that who will help you. And then obviously know your music, find your niche, and always look for new music. Like, I'll do these things like in my captions on Instagram, be like, oh, send me new music. I don't just do that for comments. Like, I literally search up all that new music, because it's hard to stay current with music, because it's coming out every single second.
Right.
So, those are my two pieces of advice.
Awesome. Well, I think I'm going to end it there, because I want to keep these interviews like brief and to the point. And I feel like you have given out so much information, and I appreciate it so much. Like, you're a really good interviewee.
Thank you. Thank you.